Welcome to Archaeology 101. We decided to go fishing today. Actually, I wanted you to have a chance to see the river that my archaeological site is right beside. We have cars going by us. So we'll do the very best we can to yell over the noise. This is the Tuscarawas River. It's big. Its headwaters are way up in northeast Ohio, Kent, Ohio, in that area, all the way down to Coshocton, where it becomes the Muskingum River. It's big. Wanted you to see what it's like, and when we get back on the site, we'll join you once again. Well, we made it. We're back on the site. The river that you just looked at is the river that back in the day did an oxbow, a twist, a wind back in probably a millennial ago, and it would have just touched the edge of this site where people chose to village, chose to build lodges, chose to do overnights, and hence my 1 acre site that we've been on for several years now doing our salvage dig. I brought some things in I want to share with you before we just jump right over to where we're digging now. So if you can come on in and join me for a second. What we're going to do is take a repeat on a couple cores. And someone was asking, why do we find so many flakes in a field when we're walking and looking for arrowheads? It's probably because you never looked at the cores that they came from. And on this dig site, we find a lot of flakes that are actually blade or flake knives. So if you look down here, you can see some really erratic looking cores. In particular, we have the Coshocton Black, kind of almost mindful of Nelly, but this is Coshocton Black, and this is Coshocton Gray. But look at the multiple strikes where they're knocking multiple blades off everywhere. Multiple blades off everywhere. And this is what most people walk over when they're in their fields. So if we look at these cores, look at this one. This is a little bit older than these two. Bigger flake or blades knocked off this core. And if we compare it to two other cores, and these are cores that we call the Hopewell people, and most books will picture these. Sadly, these are a minuscule picture of all the cores that have existed in time. But if you look in particular at the flake scars, you'll see how narrow they are. They're very, very narrow. Narrow. I'm going to get this Flint Ridge piece right here. Look at your blades that are coming off, how narrow, irregular these things are. These are in the fields. These are on dig sites. And here at this dig site, we have quite a few of them. So we collect all of them, everything gets washed up, and most everything gets saved. Now, the last time I was here, it's kind of like, oh, you should have been here last week. Well, the last time we were here, this is some of the material that came out of the ground. I'll show you real quickly before we get started today. So back, we found a lot of pottery, and we're thinking that most of the pottery is a remnant of what we expect and what we do see with Adena type pottery. The thicker it gets, oftentimes the closer it is to the bottom of the pot, and you can see the differences in the thickness. Pottery is tempered. This particular pottery is tempered with sand and grit. A couple more pieces, and this one actually has a big old piece of grit that you can see right there. And then we have what's called a rim sherd. And a rim sherd is exactly that. It's a rim of a pot. These are exciting because oftentimes this will give you enough diagnostic information to be able to say this was late woodland, this was Adena, this was Hopewell. So a rim sherd. And, you're walking around a fire, your hands are gooey, dirty, muddy, and you've been working with pottery and clay drips and stuff like that. We think that these are more than likely drips of clay that dripped in or beside the fire. They heated, oxidized, and we get this. These are pure. If you take your fingernail and break one of these, they're as pure inside as they are outside, and these are definitely fired clays. This is some of the material that came out. This was the first piece that we found, and for all of you archaeology buffs in Ohio, you already know that we're looking at an Ashtabula point, but an Ashtabula point drill with the bottom part of the bit missing. The cross section where it broke looks oxidized. It looks like possibly broke in the fire. And then this little guy. What's neat is that on the heels of this, same culture, same time period, are the steatite vessels that often accompany the Ashtabula people. This is a fragment, just a fragment of steatite. Feels kind of waxy and smooth, and it is as shiny as a brand new dime when it's not oxidized like that. And I was able to tell the people who were here, okay, we found this, now we need to be finding steatite, be careful. And there's a lot of stuff to go through in order to find these fragments. Some broken tips, bladelet. We looked at the flake scars a minute ago, the flake scars on our cores. This would have been a type of blade that would have been removed off of these cores. Remember this, when you're walking your fields, you see these things, these are actually blades, whether they were used or not. And then two fun things. I'm going to let you look at these for a minute, see if you know what you're looking at. And that may not be fair, but hey, let's just see where you're at. I'm going to help you a little bit with this one. I'm going to pick him up and let you know the rest of him is gone. We're looking at the base of an archaic point. This is heavily ground right here. And we're looking at the tip, the very tip of a point. It does not belong to this guy. So this is kind of what preceded us before today. We're about to jump in and get started. I'm going to swing over here and close with this. How many of you, when you're walking in your better fields, you see this and it just looks like chaos? Just random chips, flakes everywhere. Well, guess what? Each one of these I've hand lensed, gone over them, and they have lateral edges all over that have been resharpened. These are all flake knives and some blade knives down here. Some blades and some flake knives. And think about this the next time you're walking in your field. Today we're on our site. We're going to dig in a couple minutes. So follow me. We're going to go over and I'll show you where we're about to start digging today. All right? Again, thanks for coming along with us. Let's take a walk. This is pretty much where we left off, and we're moving to the west, and we've just been following remnant fire pits. And someone who was just here said, why aren't we finding a lot of charcoal in these fire pits? And I said, well, let's look at the diagnostic material. We've got some bases, and what do these bases tell you? How old are these cultures? Well, we're going back 3,000 and 4,000 and 5,000 years. That's a long time for charcoal to hold up unless it's fossilized. Well, this charcoal did not get fossilized. It literally dissolved and was absorbed into the environment. But one thing that does happen often with your fire pits, you get a change in the soil. And if you look here, you'll see what we call sterile earth or a sterile zone. It has this yellowish, this real kind of bright yellowish here all the way around, a little bit darker right there. There's a remnant of a fire pit in the bottom right there, coming all the way to the outside, and it's getting light again. But let's look at this right here. Look how dark this is. And you can even see a bit of the feature as we look at the crosscut or the profile. We can see the dip where the chocolate or the darker soil goes down a bit. If you look at the actual... All right, we're back. We had a chance to go down about 2 inches to see if we could develop our feature a little bit and see a little more of what we're getting into. And voila, we definitely are in fire pits. Now here's what's interesting. The charcoal or the remnant, the stain of the charcoal is showing real nicely in this particular fire pit right here. But if we slip over here, we have no charcoal, but we have definitely a feature, much darker, kind of a chocolatey-like look, with the lighter yellow sand all around. That is a possible feature. This is a definite feature. Coming this direction, over here, we had a bunch of and I don't know if I can clean it for you, but charcoal, 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 right in this area, and there's an FCR right there. So we have fire pit, probably a fire pit, and this one just came out of the ground from this fire pit. Interesting, it's an FCR for sure. You can see some reddening right here, but this has been cooked, almost blackened. So we have a break, fire crack break, cracks, and the way this broke, it looks like it was just shed off, like this may have been wet when it was in the fire and just poof, went off. But I'm going to look it over though to see if there's some pecking. Here's one of those craters that we see in flint when it's been in a fire. So more than likely, this is just an FCR. But look at this, look how it's oxidized and charcoal stains. FCR out of this fire pit. Okay, we're going to break and we'll finish this fire pit and we'll show you what we got here in a little bit. Okay, we hit the brakes on our sifting because things are starting to pop up. And if we look down here real quick, I see a blade, a flake actually, with a Buren strike across the tip. Cone of percussion right there. This is going to be a flake knife. Okay, I'm going to hang on to him. Also suspect charcoal right here. I see the blackening. We came out of our fire pit, probably out of the middle. We're going to check it and see. It is. Boy, these are minuscule pieces. And this one, oh, okay, there we have a flat surface on one side. And I always talk about crunchy peanut butter sandwich. This side would be like the bread, the other side would be the bread, and then in the middle are the crunchy peanuts, which are the tempering of the sand for this pottery. And you can even see the charcoal stains on this guy. Okay, what is this right here? This looks like pottery. Yes, it is. Okay, this is cool. This is really cool. Can you tell what we have here, folks? Right there. It's part of a rim. This is what we call a rim sherd. And I see vague, just very, oh so slight, etchings in the piece right there. They're almost worn away, eroded away on this side. Probably the exterior, interior, right there. A little bit of cord marking on that. Oh, this is good. Okay, we will continue sifting and see what we got in the rest of this. Okay, we are about to finish up. Actually, we are finishing up for the day. And we pulled a few things out. Not as many artifacts per se as we had the last day that we were down here. But nonetheless, we're in fire pits and you can see what some of the results are. This bag, if you can see in there, those are all retouch, putting an edge back on an artifact chips, okay? And these are all throughout the fire pit. This bag are blades and pottery. Now I'm going to turn them around so you can maybe look through the plastic, I hope. I see pottery right there on top. There, right there. And then just blades that need to be looked at. Cross section of pottery right there. All right, let's zip over here real quick. These are FCRs. This is, obviously you're going to hit these when you're in a fire pit. If the majority of these things are hard rock, that's interesting rock. Hard rock, granite rock, that's good. You may be working with a hearth. More hard rock right here, shattered. There's a little bit of sandstone in here, so I think that we are going to have a highly productive fire pit. We're about halfway through it. Here's a big old blade right here, cone of percussion. And when we're looking at blades, usually they're uniface, not biface. So our cone is right here. If we go to the polar opposite end, it's right along here. And this is very jagged, very small, first time usage all the way along here. It's a nice little tool. Over here are some things that we pulled out as we were sifting. Some of the blades that just simply need to be washed up and looked at to see if this is obviously a big thinning flake. I can see where it was struck here and it kind of overshot a little bit right here. This one is like the flake scar blades that we saw on the cores that I showed you at the beginning of our video today. This is the skin or one of the outer parts of a pot. I'm going to turn him over, and that's the internal part. And we see just a little bit of tempering mixed in with the clay. charcoal stained, but this is the outside of the pot. Again, another nice big blade, and I can even see a little bit of retouch along that side right there. Charcoal. Yes, it is. Watch. Charcoal. Old charcoal. Almost fossilized in bone. This is what the bone looks like in the fire pits. It's this distinctive white, and it just stands out beyond everything else. So today we had a little bit of time to get in before the rain, which is right on our back right now. And we were able to pull out, I don't know, 20 buckets. And we found lots of FCRs. That's good news. That means we're right where we want to be. We see 2 definite fire pits. A third feature, we don't know what it is. A lot of thinning flakes. And you know what? That tells us what's going on around those fire pits. And then multiple sizes of pottery. On the pottery, we had a fellow by the name of Dr. Redman from the Cleveland Museum came and spoke to our archaeological group last week. And he was talking about the keyhole burials up along Lake Erie in the Cleveland area, and how the people moved around in a concentrated area, and how the pottery would just be munched. And things, flint, different time periods are kicked all around. We're experiencing that right now. So we think that we are on the floor of some type of a lodge, but fire pits from people before that, fire pits from people after that. This is a crazy IHOP place. And then like I said, we pulled out a few things to show you. This is all good sign. We're on the trail. We are on a hot trail right now. So we'll see you soon. Thanks for coming along today.